I think is really interesting, and I have, of course, have to be careful here because I'm wearing two hats. I'm wearing both my Metaverse hat and my Webex events hat. Um, but to be candid, the reason that I came to Webex events, formerly Socio, was because I saw not necessarily just this immediate shift to virtual events and to hybrid events, but a shift, specifically during the pandemic in the way that humans are communicating overall. Digitization is coming into every aspect of our lives more and more. And that's not a situation where you can go backwards. So, my vision personally for the metaverse is broader than, a 3D avatar. I think that's one use case and probably will always be a more limited use case. I think the more exciting stuff is just the blending. This won't come as a surprise if you've listened to this season, but the blending of virtual and in-person experiences. So just imagine for a second, for example, that you were at a real in-person conference and the person wearing, the person who is working a booth has on by this time, either a contact lens or just a pair of, basic glasses, not a big giant headset. And they're talking to somebody. And then they look over and they see somebody walking towards them, except that person is not actually there. That person is in a 3D space that is a digital twin of the event space. And now you have in person, instead of having to chat that person for support, they're walking up to somebody at a booth. The person is at a real in-person booth. The other person is not there. Everybody at the event maybe has these glasses by that time, or whatever the hardware is, whatever the user interface is, hardware interface. And they're all experiencing the same thing. And so the people who can go in person can have a great time in person. They get to actually take the swag. They get to actually touch the things. They get to actually sit down and enjoy, food in Boston. Get themselves what do they have? Lobster rolls. Get themselves a lobster roll, right? You can't do that virtually. But if you just want to go up and talk to somebody and get the same booth experience, but not just look at a website, something like augmented reality and digital twins are already allowing that kind of thing to not exist, but at least for us to imagine it. And I think imagining it is the first step.
I have something to say, even though I'm not an expert about Metaverse, but I love what you're talking about, like bringing virtual attendees into the in-person experience. And I know we talked to Meredith from Miller Tanner Associates about when you're at an in-person event, bringing your attendees into the local community. And I think the metaverse opens up so much opportunity in that area, like being able to bring your virtual attendees into wherever location, whatever venue your in-person component is at. And I think it just speaks to the inclusivity piece, which I think is most interesting to me right now about the metaverse. And that, like we've been talking about, some people might not be able to afford to travel to Denver to an in-person event. But I think that the metaverse opens up opportunity and space for virtual attendees to still be a part of that in-person experience and still get to see all the cool activations and, vendors and things like that. I think we're on the right track. Have there been any metaverse event experiences that you think were done really well that you've attended?
There are, but they're all still very exploratory. We're all still very early. And even though I'm excited about it, we have a ways to go. I love what's happening. There's really smart people working on this. I'm really excited about it. I do think that by the time we're actually doing these events in a really interesting way, everybody will be talking about it and focused on it. But yeah, it's still a ways out. It's fun to think about, but we're not there yet, right? A lot of this is pilot programs. A lot of this is people saying, let's go out there and give it a shot. Let's have a party. Let's have a holiday party. Let's do a little internal kickoff for fun to try it out. I'm not seeing anybody at this stage saying our entire events program is going to be in the metaverse or in virtual spaces, or we're going to go to an entirely, well, there are a couple. I know I do have a few friends that have built their company where they do their work in the metaverse or in virtual spaces, but they're very few and far between. And inside conversations, there's a lot of friction that they tell me it's tougher than it looks.